Why some people attract everything. Have you ever met someone who just seems to attract everything? The right opportunities show up for them. The right people find them. Money seems to flow their way. And they're not working harder than you. They're not more talented than you. They're not luckier than you. At least not in the way luck is usually defined. And then there's the other kind of person. Works hard, tries constantly, wants things deeply, and yet, those same things seem to stay just out of reach. Like there's an invisible force pushing back against everything they reach for. Wayne Dyer spent 40 years studying this difference. And what he found wasn't mystical. It wasn't about luck. It wasn't about background or privilege or talent. It was about something far more fundamental, and far more within your control. It was about energy, specifically, the energy you're operating from, the invisible signal you're broadcasting every single day through your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and your words. And the way that signal determines, with remarkable consistency, what shows up in your life and what doesn't. In this video, we're going to go deep into one of Wayne Dyer's most powerful teachings. We're going to talk about what energy actually means in a practical, scientific, and spiritual sense. We're going to talk about why most people are accidentally broadcasting a signal that pushes away exactly what they want. And most importantly, we're going to talk about exactly how to change it. Because here's what Dyer said about all of this. And I want you to really sit with this as we go through this video. He said, abundance is not something we acquire. It is something we tune into. Not acquire, tune into. That distinction, between acquiring and tuning in, is the entire foundation of what we're going to explore today. So let's start at the beginning. When Wayne Dyer talked about energy, he wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was pointing to something real, something that physics, neuroscience, and ancient wisdom traditions have all described in different languages. Let's start with physics. At the most fundamental level of reality, below cells, below atoms, below subatomic particles, everything is vibration. Energy in motion. This isn't new age speculation. This is established physics. The chair you're sitting on, the phone or screen you're looking at right now, your own body, all of it is energy vibrating at different frequencies. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your thoughts are also energy. Measurable energy. Electroencephalograms, EEG machines, can literally measure the electrical activity of your thoughts. Different emotional states produce different, measurable brainwave patterns. Fear looks different on a brain scan than love. Anxiety looks different than gratitude. Scarcity looks different than abundance. You are, quite literally, a broadcasting tower. And what you broadcast is determined by what's happening inside you. Wayne Dyer took this scientific reality and connected it to what spiritual traditions have known for thousands of years. Ancient Vedic texts describe the concept of prana, life force energy. Chinese medicine speaks of qi. Hawaiian shamanism describes mana. The Tao Te Ching describes the force that underlies all of creation. Different words, same essential insight. You are not separate from the energy of the universe. You are an expression of it. And the quality of that expression, the frequency you operate at, determines your experience of reality. Dyer said it this way: everything is energy and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds abstract. How does this apply to my actual life, my actual situation, my actual problems? And that's exactly the right question. So let's get specific. Here's the central problem that Wayne Dyer identified, and once you see it, you'll start recognizing it everywhere. Most people operate from what he called the frequency of lack, and they do it completely unconsciously. The frequency of lack sounds like this in your head: I don't have enough money. I'm not successful enough yet. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not smart enough. I haven't achieved what I should have by now. I'm behind where I'm supposed to be. Notice the pattern? Every single one of those thoughts is focused on what's missing, on the gap, on the not enough. And here's the problem: when you operate from that frequency, when lack is the dominant signal you're broadcasting, you are literally training your brain to filter reality through that lens. There is a network of neurons in your brain called the reticular activating system, the ROS, and the ROS is a filter. It decides what information from your environment reaches your conscious awareness out of the millions of sensory inputs hitting you every second. What determines what the ROS lets through? Your dominant focus, your habitual frequency. If you operate from lack, your ROS finds more evidence of lack. You notice what you don't have. You notice the opportunity you missed. You notice the person who has more. You notice the thing that went wrong. If you operate from abundance, your ROS finds evidence of abundance. You notice the opportunity. You notice the person who can help. You notice what's working. Same world, completely different experience of it, but it goes deeper than just what you notice. Because your energetic frequency doesn't just affect what you perceive, it affects how you show up. And how you show up affects how others respond to you, which affects what opportunities come your way. Think about this. Have you ever been around someone who is desperately trying to make something happen? You can feel the desperation coming off them. It's almost uncomfortable to be around. There's a tightness, a graspingness, a need, and despite all their effort, or maybe because of it, things don't quite work out. Now think about someone who is calm, grounded, confident, not arrogant, not passive, just settled in themselves. There's an ease to them, an openness. Things seem to come to them naturally. Conversations go well, connections form, opportunities arise. This is what Dyer was describing. The second person isn't operating from lack. They're not broadcasting desperation. They're operating from what he called wholeness. And wholeness, that energetic frequency, attracts differently than lack does. So how do you shift from one to the other? That's what the rest of this video is about. Before we talk about how to shift your frequency, I want to be very clear about what the frequency of abundance actually is. Because there's a common misunderstanding that can send you in completely the wrong direction. The frequency of abundance is not pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It's not toxic positivity. It's not telling yourself you have money when your bank account says otherwise. It's not denying difficulty or pain or struggle. Wayne Dyer was not teaching people to be delusional. What he was teaching is something far more sophisticated, and far more powerful. The frequency of abundance is a fundamental orientation toward life. It's the choice to operate from sufficiency rather than scarcity, from wholeness rather than lack, from trust rather than fear. And here's the key insight. You can be in a difficult situation and still operate from abundance. You can be going through a genuine struggle and still choose the frequency of wholeness. Because abundance isn't about your circumstances. It's about your internal state, your baseline operating frequency. Dyer often used the analogy of a radio. Reality, he said, is like a radio with infinite stations. What you tune into, that's what you experience. If your dial is set to fear, you hear fear everywhere. If your dial is set to abundance, you begin to hear abundance, possibilities, opportunities, connections that were always there but were invisible to you before. Now here's something that surprised me when I first really understood this. Operating from abundance actually makes you more effective, not less. More decisive, more creative, more magnetic to other people. Research from positive psychology confirms this. Barbara Fredrickson at the University of North Carolina has done extensive research on what she calls the broaden and build theory. In a state of positive emotion, which is what operating from abundance produces, your brain literally expands its perceptual field. You see more options, you make more creative connections, you notice more opportunities. In a state of negative emotion, fear, scarcity, desperation, your perceptual field narrows. You see fewer options, you become reactive rather than creative. You make worse decisions. So operating from abundance isn't just spiritually desirable. It's strategically intelligent. It makes you better at everything. The question is, how do you actually do it? How do you shift your internal operating frequency from lack to abundance in a practical, sustainable way? Wayne Dyer had very specific answers to that question, and they're what we're going to spend the rest of this video on. The first and most powerful practice Wayne Dyer taught for shifting your energetic frequency is gratitude. Not as a feel-good exercise, not as a spiritual nicety, as a genuine neurological and energetic intervention. Here's how Dyer thought about gratitude. He said, the moment you feel grateful, truly, genuinely grateful, you are in the frequency of abundance. Because gratitude is the feeling of, I have, and, I have, is the exact opposite of, I lack. You cannot be in the frequency of lack while genuinely feeling grateful. It's neurologically impossible. They produce contradictory brain states. Now here's the interesting thing about gratitude. Most people think of it as a response, something you feel when good things happen. But Dyer taught it as a practice, something you choose to cultivate regardless of circumstances. And the research supports this completely. Harvard Medical School studies have consistently shown that people who practice gratitude daily, not just feel it when things go well, but actively cultivate it as a discipline, show measurable changes in brain structure over time. The amygdala, the brain's fear and stress center, becomes less reactive. The prefrontal cortex, the center of clarity and positive decision-making, becomes more active. You are literally reshaping your brain toward abundance through the practice of gratitude. Dyer's specific practice was what he called gratitude before your feet touch the floor. Every morning, before getting up, before checking the phone, before the mind starts running through the to-do list, 5 minutes of genuine gratitude. Not a list, a feeling. There's an important distinction here. Most people do gratitude as a list. I'm grateful for my health, my family, my home. And that's not bad, but it stays intellectual. Dyer wanted you to go one level deeper. To actually feel what it feels like to have those things. To sit with that feeling. To let it become the dominant signal in your body before you start your day. Because that feeling, that genuine warmth of, I have so much, is the frequency of abundance. And starting your day there means you're broadcasting that signal from the moment you wake up. Try this practice for 7 days and notice what changes. Not in your circumstances, that comes later. But in what you notice. In who you attract. In how conversations go. In how opportunities appear. This is the beginning of training your energy. The second practice Wayne Dyer taught is about how you hold your intentions. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, even people who are genuinely committed to personal growth. There are 2 ways to want something. You can want it from lack, I need this because without it I'm incomplete. Or you can want it from wholeness, I am moving toward this because it's the natural expression of who I am. The energy behind these 2 forms of wanting is completely different. And the results they produce are completely different. Dyer made this concrete with an example. Think about 2 people going to a job interview. The first person desperately needs the job. They're behind on rent. They're afraid. Every answer they give carries the weight of that fear and desperation. Even if they try to hide it, people feel it. The interviewer feels something off. The energy in the room is contracted. The second person genuinely wants the position and believes they're a good fit. But they also know they'll be okay if it doesn't work out. They show up calm, grounded, open. Their answers come from authentic confidence. The energy in the room is expansive. Which person is more likely to get the job? This is the difference between intention from desperation and intention from wholeness. Dyer recommended a specific practice for this. Before pursuing anything important, a goal, a relationship, an opportunity, ask yourself this question. Am I pursuing this from fear of what happens if I don't get it? Or am I pursuing this from the genuine desire to express and create? If the honest answer is fear, don't abandon the goal. But do the inner work first. Get clear on your wholeness independent of this outcome. Remind yourself, I am enough right now, before this. I will be okay regardless. And from that place of okayness, then pursue the goal. The energy completely changes, and the results follow the energy. Dyer also taught that intentions set from wholeness are more powerful because they're cleaner. There's no conflicting signal. The thought, the emotion, and the action are all pointing the same direction. And when all 3 align, that's when what he called synchronicity begins. When the right people appear. When the right doors open. When what you need seems to come to you rather than having to chase it. The third practice is what Dyer called thought monitoring. And it's probably the most constant practice of the 3, because thoughts are arising all the time. Here's the foundation of this practice. Every thought you think is a signal, a frequency, and that frequency is constantly shaping your energetic state. Most people have somewhere between 50,000 and 70,000 thoughts per day. And research suggests that for most people, the majority of those thoughts are negative and repetitive. The same fears, the same doubts, the same self-criticisms, cycling through, day after day, creating and reinforcing a chronic frequency of lack. Thought monitoring doesn't mean suppression. Dyer was very clear about this. You can't stop thoughts from arising. And trying to suppress them actually amplifies them. What you resist, persists. What thought monitoring means is this: awareness before identification. Most people don't just have thoughts. They become their thoughts. A thought arises, I'm not good enough, and the person doesn't observe it. They become it, they sink into it, they start finding evidence for it. They make decisions from it. The practice of thought monitoring creates a gap. When a thought arises, especially a fear-based, lack-based, scarcity-based thought, you observe it instead of becoming it. I notice I'm having a thought about not being enough. That one sentence, I notice I'm having a thought about, changes everything. Because it puts you one level above the thought. You become the observer, and the observer is not the thought. From that observer position, you have a choice. You can choose to engage with the thought, to examine it, challenge it, release it. Or you can simply let it pass, the way clouds pass through a clear sky. The sky doesn't become the clouds. The sky remains. You are the sky. The thoughts are the clouds. Now here's the practical application of this for energy and attraction. When you notice a lack frequency thought arising, I can't afford that, that will never happen for me, I'm behind where I should be, instead of sinking into it, you redirect. Not with toxic positivity, not with, everything is perfect, but with a simple, genuine redirection. I am moving toward what I want. I trust the process. I am enough right now. The more consistently you practice this redirection, the more your default frequency shifts. You're not eliminating negative thoughts. You're refusing to let them set your frequency. And over time, through consistent practice, the negative thoughts arise less frequently. Because you've stopped feeding them with your attention. This is what Dyer meant by training your energy. It's not a one-time shift. It's a daily, ongoing practice of choosing your frequency deliberately. Let's bring everything together. Wayne Dyer taught one central truth in everything he wrote, everything he said, everything he lived. You are not a passive receiver of reality. You are an active participant in creating it, and the primary tool you have for that creation is your energetic frequency, the signal you broadcast through your thoughts, your emotions, your words, and your intentions. Most people are broadcasting the frequency of lack, unconsciously, habitually, consistently. And they're getting exactly what that frequency attracts. Not because the universe is punishing them, but because the signal they're sending is, I don't have it, and reality confirms the signal. Shifting to the frequency of abundance doesn't require perfect circumstances. It doesn't require wealth or success or everything going right. It requires 3 practices, practiced consistently. First, gratitude before your feet touch the floor. 5 minutes every morning, feeling what you already have, genuinely feeling it. Second, intention from wholeness. Pursuing what you want from a place of, I am already enough, not from fear of what happens if you don't get it. Third, thought monitoring. Noticing when you're in lack frequency and deliberately redirecting, not through suppression, but through awareness and conscious choice. These 3 practices, done consistently, will shift your energetic signal. And as your signal shifts, what you attract will shift with it. As Wayne Dyer said, abundance is not something we acquire. It is something we tune into. You already have access to the frequency. You just have to choose to tune in. Before you go, if any part of this video made you stop and think, that's not an accident. Wayne Dyer believed that the right message finds you at exactly the right moment. Maybe this was yours. If it was, hit subscribe. Not because I'm asking you to, but because there are more lessons like this one waiting for you on this channel. And you don't want to miss them. Hit the like button if this added something to your day. It takes 1 second and it helps more people find this content, people who might need it just as much as you did. And turn on notifications, so the next lesson shows up before life gets in the way. I'll see you in the next one. Don't die with your music still in you. Before you go, if any part of this video made you stop and think, that's not an accident. Wayne Dyer believed that the right message finds you at exactly the right moment. Maybe this was yours. If it was, hit subscribe. Not because I'm asking you to, but because there are more lessons like this one waiting for you on this channel. And you don't want to miss them. Hit the like button if this added something to your day. It takes 1 second and it helps more people find this content, people who might need it just as much as you did. And turn on notifications, so the next lesson shows up before life gets in the way. I'll see you in the next one. Don't die with your music still in you.